stuff coming up. But no, wacky rigging for me is something that I would say it's probably my strongest spot in bass fishing. It's something that I learned to do as a kid. It didn't matter what bait, you just hook it in the middle. I even did it with lizards and random stuff, just trying to see what all they would bite. It's something that to me, it works pretty much all year. There's a few times of the year that I will not wacky rig, or a few situations that I won't do it. But you hear the term Nico or Neko or however you want to say it. A lot of guys have, that's all of a sudden brand new. Well, it's not really brand new. The way that I've looked at it is the only thing they changed when they started the Nico rig type of deal is the nail they put in the end actually sticks out the end of the worm and acts as like a connection point to the bottom. So instead of what I always call a weighted wacky worm, now they call it Nico rig. And basically what that does is that allows that worm to go straight to the bottom, and it sits on the bottom, and that's the sinker or the nail that they're sticking in the end of that acts as the contact point to the bottom. Whether you want to say it clicks the bottom or it's a more solid piece of structure in that worm to connect you with the bottom and keep feel of the bottom. For me, wacky rigging started for me weightless. That's something that I really like to do. Put a dinger on there. I brought some hooks, and the hooks that I use back there, if anybody wants to see them, the actual rigs that I use, a lot of the specific things that I use, I grabbed them out of my tackle box and brought them so I could show you guys. But for me, what I look for when I wacky rig is I'm looking for that time of year when those fish are starting to get up there on the bank. I mean, most of the time, the fish that I'm catching on the wacky rig that's weightless is anywhere from 5-6 feet and shallower. And for me, a lot of it too can come down to structure, the cover you're throwing it around. But for me, it's about those fish that are actually just roaming. Those fish that are, whether they're looking for a place to bed or they're moving from those deeper places across those flats and points. It's something that you can cover a lot of water with. But for me, what I like about it is it gives you something to throw when you're looking for fish. If you're actually going down the bank and you're visibly trying to see fish and look for beds, it's something that you can cast out in front of the boat. It's something that you can skip really easy. This particular rig, I throw it on a spinning rod. I use a 610 medium light, so it's really, really soft. And the reason I choose that rod is because I'm throwing it again on 15-pound braid, and I'm throwing that high-vis green where I can see it, where I can see the line. Because a lot of your bites on a wacky rig, this particular setup, if you skip it under a boat dock or under a shade, you don't necessarily see the fish bite it, but you'll see that braid jump and see it start moving. And the way it floats, you can see it actually moving across the water. So that's why I use a bright green color. I usually stick with 6 or 8. Occasionally, if I'm going to be throwing it, if I have one that I'm rigging up just to throw around boat docks and stuff like that, I'll put 10-pound on it. I personally don't go much heavier than 10 because I think it changes the way the bait falls. And I want that bait to have that real subtle quivering action as it falls. You can also, wacky rigging the dinger, 6-inch dinger. You can throw a finesse worm. I brought several worms back there that I actually use. So for me, that time of year, I'm casting that bait down the bank in front of me. I'm not necessarily watching where I'm even throwing it because I'm looking for fish that I'm seeing swimming around. And the cool thing about it is with this rig is when you can cast that thing out there in the middle of the lake and you can be reeling, looking for it, and all of a sudden you can't find your rig and you wind, and one's got it out there in the middle. That's a key fish to me. That's one of those fish that you wouldn't have caught if you were just trolling down the bank holding your rod looking for a fish on a bed. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can cast that thing out there ahead of you. And a lot of times those fish that time of year, they'll be sitting there right under the surface. Those big females, they get up there getting ready to spawn. You'll be trolling down a pocket, and if you pay attention, way up ahead of you, you'll see one sitting this far under the water. And she's just sitting there sunning, waiting to move up on the bed, that sort of thing. And that's those fish that you can catch by just bombing that thing out in front of the boat. But the cool part about it is when you're going down the bank and you see one like a 3-pounder cruising and you've got a 1.5-pounder in your live well, you can wind that thing in real fast. And it don't matter, literally, I've caught them 2 feet from my boat. You can just reel it in real fast, don't move, and just skip it over there, let it fall right in front of that fish, and more time.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass U TV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass U TV.
You get the top instructors.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
And that's why you want to check out Bass U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass U TV.